So you're doing stand-up, you're also calling into all these radio stations. At its peak, like how many radio shows were you calling into, how often, and for how many years?
At the peak of my calling into radio stations, I had, I'd say, trying to think of that notebook, I had 27 stations across the country. Some I would call 3 days a week. Some I would call 1 day a week. Some I'd call 2 days a week. Some I'd call, did I say 5 days a week already?
No.
Some I'd call 5 days a week. And it just depended. And I only got paid by 4 of those radio stations.
Wow.
Because I knew that if I could get on a radio station, I could sell out, I could sell tickets. So what I did was I had some dates where I was a middling, some headline acts, some middle acts. And I said, well, I'm gonna start booking myself in some of these markets as Larry the Cable Guy and just kind of see what happens. And that's when I would go in to do the comedy club and you'd have to go do the radio to promote it. And as soon as I'd walk in there, we go to the first break and the DJ would always go, hey, Dan, what's this thing you're doing on radio, man? You're all over Bitboard. People are talking about this Cable Guy thing. I said, if you want me to do it, just call me up, man, and I'll do a commentary for you. And I can guarantee you, within 2 to 3 months, you will have people wanting to hear it. I was that confident. It was doing so good. And I said, you'll get a sponsor, and it'll pay for itself. If you want to pay me out of sponsor money, do that. The only thing I ask, if you have me on the show, just promote me at the comedy club. Just let people know I'm coming. So it was a win-win. And it would be a huge radio promotion. It would sell out the week. And that's how it started.
Do you think the other comedians that you were working with at the time similarly wanted to have the same level of success with you and just didn't realize they had to be as dedicated?
I can't speak for other comedians. I really can't. I do know that Jeff Foxworthy always taught me a valuable lesson in comedy if you want to become popular at it, or at least have a chance at it. And it's called show business for a reason. There's a show and there's a business. And there's a lot of people good at the show and they're bad at the business. So if you're really bad at the business, less people are gonna see the show because you don't know how to do the business end so people can come see the show.
What did you know that made you good at the business?
I knew how to reach out to people, to get up early, to make phone calls, to get your name out there, to show up and do things that cost you money to do. The whole reason I'm on the blue collar, that I got on the blue collar comedy tour, was I had been on the road forever doing Larry the Cable Guy, and it was going great. And I finally had a weekend off for the first time in a month and a half. My manager at the time called me up and said, hey, I know you just got home, but there's a thing that Foxworthy's doing with Andy Griffith and Bill Engvall. And I'd heard about this blue collar tour. It just started. They'd only done maybe 12 shows. But they got rid of one of the guys. They didn't think he was blue collar enough. He's a super nice guy. They just didn't think he was blue collar enough. And it wasn't meshing, so they got rid of him. They were looking for one more guy, but I didn't know this. Here's what she said to me. Here's the bad news. It doesn't pay anything because they don't have a budget. You're the last guy. No airfare, but they'll get your room for the night. And I'm like, well, I want to see Jeff. Jeff and I are friends. I ain't seen Jeff in a while. He's been out on the road a bunch. But the cool thing is it's at the Ryman Auditorium. I've never worked the Ryman. I would love to work the Ryman. You work the Ryman, there might be somebody in the audience that can see you because that's Nashville. So I went up there not to see Jeff and to work the Ryman because it was the Mother Church of Country Music, you know. Flew up to Nashville, went on stage and killed it. I mean, killed it. Well, 3 weeks later, I got the call. Jeff wants you to come up and the guys want to see you. They want to see if you'll work out with the blue collar tour. We think you'll fit real good with this whole thing. And that's when it all came together. That's when the show and the business, you know, I wasn't getting paid but from 4 radio stations instead of going out after comedy clubs. That's where I say show business. 93, I started doing the radio, 92, 93. And here it is, 1999, 98, 99, 6 years later. So 6 years of phone calls, 5 days a week. Only getting paid for, at the time, from 3 stations then. It all culminated to that one night in Nashville. And if I wasn't good at the business, and if I didn't care, and if I didn't pick up the phone and make phone calls, I would go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning at home, and I would wake up at 6:15. I mean, for years, I got 4 hours of sleep, 4.5 hours of sleep for years. But it all culminated into something that it turns out to be what it is. So, I mean, it's just amazing how that works.